This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast is brought to you by The Athletic, premium coverage for passionate Detroit sports fans. Listeners of this podcast can save 20% off the first year of an annual subscription by visiting theathletic.com/DSP. That's theathletic.com/DSP to subscribe and save 20%.
Welcome to episode 22 of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to take a look at a major change coming to this year's WrestleMania, and it'll probably affect every WrestleMania going forward, as well as a monstrous return to Smackdown, and Brock Lesnar showed up at Raw. At this point, I bring in my co-host, the guy who has the fiercest elbow from the top rope, and he'll put you in a calf crusher that'll make you cry and submit in less than 3 seconds. He is the Doc, John Macaroon.
Cause I only got one thing to tell you.
What's that?
Fight for your dreams, and your dreams will fight for you, baby.
You told me that when I first came in here. If anybody's listening to this, I have a dream of being a radio personality, and it is a struggle. It is hard. And there have been many times I've wanted to give up and just quit and roll over and die. And John always finds some inspirational words to sit there and kind of pump me up and try to keep me going. And those words right there were uttered by one Daniel Bryan, and we will talk about that when we get to SmackDown. But first, let's start with Raw. Is that okay with you?
I love it.
All right, let's start with Raw. So on Raw this week, we open with Kurt Angle coming down to the ring and announcing that Roman Reigns is still suspended and that Brock Lesnar will at some point be showing up to the arena. At this point, Roman Reigns comes through the crowd, enters the ring, and then he starts cutting a promo on Kurt about how it's unfair that Brock's never here, he never shows up, this, that, the other thing. Brock ends up sending down some U.S. Marshals, who then arrest Roman Reigns, which is probably the corniest gimmick in all of wrestling. They arrest Roman Reigns, and then Roman gets upset with them touching him one too many times, and then proceeds to beat the living smack out of these guys. At this point, Lesnar's music hits, and you already know what happens. Roman Reigns did a great job selling the, oh crap, I just pooped my pants look. Brock gets in the ring and then just annihilates him. Does a whole bunch of German suplexes, gives him an F5, beats him with a chair. It got really messy for Roman. Did you like this opening segment?
Well, cuz I just kind of got the vibe, and I want to tell you this. Is it 2018 or 2015? Haven't we seen this shit before?
Have.
It was 2015 where you had Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. I'm not into it. So obviously you knew it was going to happen. You know now that, some beatdowns got to take place, but it's the same kind of beatdown. Oh my gosh, you brought out a stretcher. Roman's on a stretcher. Does that mean he's out of WrestleMania? Is he going to be out of action? I mean, the WWE is using the stretcher so much that it's losing its value. I didn't like it. I don't even like the match at all. I feel like now that there's other guys coming back, there's other matches being set up. This match is one of those ones where you're just going to be like, okay, at the end, is it going to be Brock getting over, or is it going to be Roman Reigns now taking the torch going forward? But in the end, it's not new. I don't want Roman taking the torch. I don't want this segment. I don't want this angle going down at all. So again, you play it out. It's the top angle, top thing that you open the show with, but okay, whatever.
The one thing I will say about Brock Lesnar, he ends up taking his shirt off. He has a bloody nipple. I don't know how that happened. My wife pointed that out to me. He does not look like he's been working out.
Yeah, that's the biggest news from that.
He looks soft. He really does not care about wrestling.
No, but at this point in time, I took note of you and Mikey saying, "Oh my God, he doesn't care about the business." Dude's been in the business. I'm at 15 years, and when you're at that level, it's like you're a CEO right now. Do you really want him in the gym all day, every day for 16 years? He's a draw. He's a big dude.
I want him to show up every single week like everybody else has to.
Why?
Because
doesn't it make it more special when you see him?
It does, and I agree with you. I think there should be like a revolving. Everybody should get their time, but it needs to be like every other week, right?
Right.
But I want
when
him.
you hear his music, it's awesome to see him.
I want him to have to show up sometime. I mean, the guy does nothing. Look, when he does a house show, His matches are less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's for a reason. It's because he had that written into his contract.
Isn't that awesome?
He's the highest paid guy there, and he does nothing ever. The guy doesn't even cut a promo.
But I want to ask you this, though. In terms of, obviously, the smart marks don't like that. Probably the boys don't like that. But unfortunately, you can't cater to maybe 400 people. In terms of his national appeal, what he brings to the table, when his music hits, there's a pop. He's in demand. He's a freak. And so, unfortunately, when you get to that level, remember, he paid his dues. He did the full-time schedule. I think what people have to recognize is most wrestlers, once they hit 30, 31, 32, after being in the ring since they were 23, you slow down, slow the schedule down. Yeah. And if you're telling me you hate on the fact that he gets more money to work less, that's the American dream, bro. That's what everybody wants. I want to work 200 days a year, and I want to make that much money. And then if you come to me and say you get to work 50 days a year and you make double, I'm going to sign up for that. You maybe have that love and that, I want to be there every single day. I can't hate on Brock Lesnar for getting it, and Vince knows it too. He's a draw. He will be part of a package that people want to see, and he's lucky in the fact that he's got 2 companies that will continue to vie for his options. And so you can't hate on a dude that's got leverage. Brock Lesnar worked the system to get the leverage. I don't hate on it. I just want him to fight bigger dudes. I wish that they found and elevated other people to go toe-to-toe with him. They got to find the next Brock to pin him up with, because you've already done it with Braun Strowman. You've already seen him with the likes of most of the characters on Raw. The problem is now, I think you keep it going. Let Brock have the belt for 2 years.
No, I can't handle him having the belt anymore. It's awful. Okay. Look, and here's the thing. I'm not even so much upset about all the ancillary stuff, the stuff that happens off screen, his contract, what he's got to do, how he manipulates the system for his own well-being. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I hate his in-ring work. I think his in-ring work is awful and sloppy. I think he looks awful and sloppy, especially when he doesn't sit there and work out and take care of himself. The way I almost at certain times I feel like he holds WWE hostage, and that's my biggest issue. You've got a champion, and it's Vince's fault for putting the belt on him and having the belt on him for this long. You have a champion who you can't get the belt off of and who does not show up ever. That's my biggest issue.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to Alexa.
Overall, though, I liked the episode of Raw. It was very enjoyable. I felt like the 3 hours flew by. I really liked most of the things that went down. You saw some storylines evolve. You saw kind of some explanations regarding what's going on with Braun Strowman. You're kind of getting more invested in the women's situation in terms of how the angles are going to set up at WrestleMania. So overall, I liked the show. I liked many of the aspects of Monday Night Raw. It just kind of sucked, though, because most people were like, oh, damn. And it was good that they did not deliver The Undertaker and they did not deliver Ronda Rousey, because if they delivered Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, The Undertaker for Dallas, I think Detroit would probably, you probably never have 20,000 people at Detroit, at a Detroit event again, because people were like, dude, you're going to throw everything out there for Dallas and not Detroit. But it was good. Just Brock Lesnar, no big deal. I liked the way it set up. And then the show rolled along with the Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax angle. I like the way it was set up. I do believe that you're now going to have a situation where Nia Jax and Alexa are going to have an amazing matchup at WrestleMania.
Yeah, this episode of
great
Raw
story told.
Did a really good job of building towards everything that's going to happen at WrestleMania. So you've got Alexa taking on Asuka. Alexa's going to leave the match just to get counted out.
Yep.
When Nia's music hits, Nia runs down and she bum rushes Mickie James, and then she stalks Alexa. I thought it was great.
Yep.
Nia looks deranged and crazy, like she just wants to rip Alexa from limb to limb. So I like it. It's a good build. It's a real good build. I'm interested in that. I think that's awesome. Something else I'm interested in, what are they going to do with Braun? Who's going to be his tag partner?
I got a name.
He came out, cut a promo, and he said, I have to now pick a tag partner. I have a name too. So I want to know if it's the same person.
I think the chances of us probably saying the same name are probably interesting. In that, what would shake up everything? I think Big Show.
Oh, no. That would be interesting.
That would be awesome, right? I think that'd be surprising. Big Show, training.
Yeah.
You put them in the mix. You got 2 big dudes. You have them work a little bit. Then you have a quick program before you get off Braun Strowman before he keeps it moving.
I think Elias would be great as his tag partner.
But
now, hear me out here. You pair Elias with him, right? You remember, these two have been going back and forth for a while now. And nobody really knows where this feud's going because it has seemed to kind of fizzle here the last couple weeks. Not really sure what the heck's going on with it. You pair Braun with Elias, you basically have the Bar redo. You know what I'm saying? It's because remember how the Bar started. It was Cesaro versus Sheamus. They hated each other. And they went, I think it was 9 times they had to wrestle each other to see whoever was the better of the two of them. And then you pair them, and the next thing you know, magic happened. I think you can do the same thing with Braun and Elias. You got two guys who can cut pretty decent promos. You got two guys who are really interesting, two guys that the fans are behind and like. You got one guy who is booked as a heel, but he is a babyface, and you've got a guy who is a heel. I think it'd be interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
What do you think about Bayley and Sasha? Because the big question is, who's going to turn heel? What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? Sasha as a heel is great. Sasha as a heel is awesome. But I think if Bayley turned heel, I think everybody would lose their mind. Could you imagine? It would be I think it'd be great. I think it'd be absolutely incredible. And I felt like we were inching towards that with this segment that we had with Bayley and Sasha. Bayley comes out, and then Sasha comes down and basically cuts a promo on her and was like, look, where I'm from, if we have a problem with somebody, we sit there and we address it with them. We don't turn our backs on them. You sat there, you left me out to dry here, you left me out to dry there. What's going on? You're my best friend. And then Bayley gets a mic, and Bayley cuts back into her and was like, the look on your face when you kicked me out of the Elimination Chamber, that said it all for me. So what's your deal? And the next thing you know, Absolution comes out. So it kind of leaves you a little bit of a cliffhanger here. I think Bayley as a heel would go over like gangbusters. I think it would be awesome.
Now, a lot of people are continuing to evaluate John Cena and his promos. They want to see, him tear into The Undertaker. He came out there and cut another great promo. He basically called out The Undertaker, calling him less than a man. And
calling him a coward.
Yep. And then we hear the noise, we hear music, but it's not The Undertaker, it's Kane. What'd you make of that? And do you feel like it was a good setup to have Kane just walk in because of the fact that John Cena was ripping on his brother, tearing him limb from limb in terms of what he was saying in a promo? Kane walks in, not that much, just boom, slams John Cena to the mat, walks out. You like that?
So I'm assuming we're going to have a Kane-John Cena match this
sometime on Raw,
Yeah, next week on Raw. It depends on how they build from this, right? If Undertaker comes out and addresses it, or they've got to do something. It can't just be this. There needs to be more. I think what I'm most interested in is the way John Cena has been addressing The Undertaker, how he's been going after The Undertaker. At this point, John Cena seems to be more heel than anything else. John Cena forever has been the all-American good guy. With this angle and the way he's going at The Undertaker every single week, the way he calls him names, calls him out, sits there, puts him on blast, I really feel like these are all heel tendencies, and John Cena is mimicking a heel here. I think John Cena going into this match is a heel. I don't want to say John Cena has turned heel, but is the heel in this match against The Undertaker.
Okay.
With The Undertaker, would you prefer him to come out as the dead man, or would you rather see him as the American Badass?
Dead man. One last match as a dead man.
Full interest. You had that last year, though.
But that's what brings the bacon. That's what brings the noise. That's what everyone likes. They like the long entrance. It would be cool maybe if he did the American Badass.
I think he
with Kid Rock.
I think he comes out as Mark Calloway.
Oh.
I think that would be like
the odds-on favorite. I think would be Badass because Kid Rock will be there.
More of a shoot style. He comes out and he's like, "Look, I heard you calling me out." He's like, "I want you to know Mark Calloway's here, and Mark Calloway is not going to deal with this crap. Not from you, Jonathan Cena." And then they get into a little dust up. I think that would be good. I think that would be interesting.
No Ronda Rousey. They promote it similar to what they did at Raw. And I think that was good. I feel like that's what they should have did it in the first place. Vignettes. That's a good way to build up hype for Ronda Rousey. You get a situation where you see that you're going to miss her. You don't have Ronda Rousey there. I liked it. I felt like that was great. That's how you elevate that angle. So now, everything was kind of building up to the culmination of the Ultimate Deletion. People wanted to see, what is this going to do? How is this going to play out? Similar to TNA? Not similar to TNA? Or how is this going to play out? It was a great way to end the show. Most people, I believe, felt like they marked out. They were like, this is what we've been waiting to see. This is the best version of the Woken character. They liked it. But some smart marks were like, well, maybe it was a little overproduced. This isn't similar. This is what WWE does. They take hold of something and then they kind of make it their own, and it's not as good as the original. And a lot of people who critiqued it said, look, when you got Rocky and you go out and do Rocky 2, it's never as good as Rocky 1. And they felt like it was good, it was entertaining, but it fell short of the authenticity of the Ultimate Deletions or the similar things that Woken Matt Hardy did back in TNA. How'd you make of it? Because for me, it was simple. I liked it. It was new, refreshing. But for me, again, the word I used when I texted you was overproduced.
Yes.
A lot of camera angles, a lot of shots. It just went back and forth and things like that. And then the part that made it kind of corny was Michael Cole just marking out and being a little bit corny. I felt like it could have been added differently. If you really wanted to kind of shock everybody, shoot, pay Jeremy Borash, get him in there, and the dude that used to call the old ones, maybe make a little arrangement and do something different, or someone with a similar style voice to come in there and call it to kind of give that authenticity. It just felt like WWE spin on it was okay, but it left a lot of people going a little too much.
When you see anything that involves Matt Hardy in an Ultimate Deletion match, you've got to kind of put yourself in the mindset of this is a mini movie. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah.
You've got to look at it almost like it's a suspense thriller, and you get what you pay for here, right? So I liked it. I thought the Ultimate Deletion was really good. It was not the same as TNA's. I thought TNA's was done a little bit better. This had WWE fingerprints all over it, and I don't know if that took away from the authenticity of it or what I remember with TNA's version of it. It was decent, though. The thing that I really liked is you now have you've hit a reset button for Bray Wyatt's character. He fell into the lake of reincarnation, which is something that I was hoping would happen. So now with Bray Wyatt, he can come back and he doesn't have to be the eater of pins anymore. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, Bray Wyatt has been booked so poorly for the last year and a half, 2 years. I mean, you see the guy, you essentially know he's going to lose. Every now and then he'll get a W, but for the most part, he loses. You can now reset his character. And what I would love for them to do is you bring Bray Wyatt back out of the lake of reincarnation, and he's part of the Woken universe. Do you know what I'm saying? He is one with Hardy, and he is one with both Matt and Jeff and everybody. And I think it would be awesome. I think it'd be something great. You could almost, and then at some point you're going to have to break them up because that's what you do. Every good tag team or every good group, you got to break it up at some point, right? You can have him. There would be a way that you can have him destroy the Woken universe, and that way Matt can go on to do a new character, Jeff can go do his thing, and then Bray can go and do whatever Bray wants to do. But I love that he fell into the lake of reincarnation, and he should be brought back as something new, something different. And I think it'd be a great restart button for his character. That's the thing I love the most out of it. I wish I had more Roman candles, more fireworks. I wish I had more of a scene with a dilapidated boat. Otherwise, though, I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. It made me laugh. That's the one thing about the Ultimate Deletion, right? They're in on it. Matt Hardy knows. He's in on it. It's all part of the game. You know, if you go back and you watch the one with TNA, there was a scene with Shane Helms. And Shane Helms was in TNA. He was doing a lot of different things there. He was a manager. He was a booker. Really didn't take any bumps. He ended up falling into the lake of reincarnation, and he came back out as the Hurricane. So it's great, man. The way he does it, and they all know that they're in on it. I mean, there'll be times where they break the fourth wall and they talk directly to you. So I love it. I thought it was good. Again, not as good as TNA, but still very, very good. Something else that was very, very good. Transitioning over to SmackDown now. News broke late Tuesday night. Daniel Bryan has been cleared by WWE. He can now wrestle again. He can restart his career.
What?
Forever and a day now, Daniel Bryan has been sidelined due to issues with concussions. Daniel Bryan used to have seizures because of his concussions. He's been cleared by 4 or 5 different neurologists now, and he is back. He came out and he cut a rousing promo, basically thanking his wife, thanking WWE, thanking the doctors, and letting everybody know that he is back. What'd you make of this?
Shocking. When I heard the news on Tuesday, it was just like out of the blue. One of those situations where nobody was really talking about it. I mean, people were speculating, would he ever come back? Most people said that, you know what, he probably would resume his wrestling career, but somewhere outside of WWE when his contract ended. Now what you hear is that he's been working on this for 2 years, going to doctor after doctor, trying to get himself cleared. How awesome is that? It was shocking. It was one of those big things where you knew you wanted to be 8 o'clock USA. You were going to watch that opening segment. And the ratings are going to be huge when it comes out in terms of seeing what Daniel Bryan had to say. I felt like it was a little bit too emotional. I felt like he should just come out and laid out and continued that angle with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens right there on the opening segment.
He's a really emotional guy.
Yeah, but we've seen that before in terms of thanking everybody, crying, all that.
But you know what?
12 minutes, you could have done a lot more with it.
I think those tears, those are real tears.
Of course, it's real.
I think at some point when he was going through all this, I think he was in a really dark place. I think he was in a really bad way. Because the one thing he wants to do and the one thing that he's always wanted is to wrestle. And for him to be at his peak, the best wrestler in all of wrestle everywhere, right?
Right.
And then for this to be ripped away from him, I think whenever he would start to talk about Brie, he would break down. I think she was the reason that he's still here.
She fought, and great support. Yeah, it's great.
So I think he was in a really, really dark place. I think he was in a real bad way, and she was the one who helped save him.
Then you go to Nakamura versus Rusev. The match wasn't as good as it was at Fastlane, but it was still good. I feel like Nakamura cut a great promo. I felt like the match, in and of itself, had good chemistry. It was decent, but not as good as Fastlane, which kind of, really kind of sucked.
Do you think this builds to something different after WrestleMania? I'm assuming there's going to be a shakeup. Look, Nakamura might win the belt, might not win the belt. Do you see something happening after WrestleMania between these two?
Yeah, it's possible. I feel like Rusev and Nakamura could definitely make some money at house shows and things like that, continue to have a program. But at this point in time, it's time to start the process of getting Nakamura built up for AJ Styles. But there's a little bit of wrinkle with that, and you'll talk about that in the news and notes section. Now, SmackDown overall was a great show because of the fact you had Daniel Bryan. But from the first segment to the last, then you put a bunch of crap in the middle, and it sucked because you saw the likes of Baron Corbin and Ty Dillinger. That match was probably the worst match on SmackDown. It didn't elevate.
There were botches in the middle of it.
Yeah, there's botches. It didn't do anything to elevate either or. And then you just ask yourself, in terms of DocNJock stock watch, Ty Dillinger way down. It's unfortunate. We felt like, you got a guy like Baron Corbin that can do some things. You haven't elevated him since his U.S. title run, and it's really a shame. The middle portion of SmackDown, in terms of what you saw, you saw Harper versus Jey Uso. It was great. You kind of established that the Bludgeon Brothers are the legitimate threat to the Usos, but in the end, you can do a little bit more. I felt like SmackDown tried to do some things, but just fell short.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think coming out of this, from this Daniel Bryan crap sandwich, because it's Daniel Bryan, crap, Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
I think with the crap in the middle, what kind of came out of this, and two things that really arose from essentially an hour and 30 minutes worth of wrestling programming. I think at some point Carmella has to cash in the Money in the Bank, and I think it's going to be at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think at WrestleMania she cashes in and she does lose.
Yeah, probably. Might be one of those women. Yep. Now, the one thing that's fascinating is I don't understand how they're working the Jinder Mahal angle. You cut a promo, but then you already released earlier in the day at WWE.com, he's in the match. So what was that purpose of that whole segment to announce that Jinder, Randy, and Bobby were already in it when we already knew? Anybody that has the internet and check saw it.
This is the thing. This is what I hate about what WWE is doing. All right,
releasing stuff a little early on the day,
all the time. They book more matches through Twitter than they do through their own programming. Mm-hmm. So then you get it booked through Twitter, and now you got to come back and you got to almost do this
re-announce it.
Yeah, you got to do this like retcon where you're totally like.
I hear what you're saying. You don't like wrestling resets.
No,
it's like you don't have to reset it for me.
Right,
move it along.
Right.
Yes, resets are bad,
and I don't think any of us.
Nobody likes it.
Did you not expect them to have a three-way, or as I have in our notes, a tree-way?
Yeah, exactly.
I missed the H. I just noticed that.
Exactly. No, see, what you do is you announce it on the internet, and then you further the storyline, have some action, move it forward, explain
How about this?
why.
Don't announce the shit on the internet. You don't have to announce it on the internet. You've got over 5 hours of television programming.
But you got to get clicks.
That you've got to do.
WWE.com has a staff. You got to get clicks.
That's fine. You know what you can do? You can put vignettes up there.
Yeah.
You can have them cutting promos on each other.
Have you checked WWE's Twitter? I kind of looked to see. They basically only take like an hour or two off a day from tweeting. They literally tweet almost every single hour, a couple things every hour.
Really?
24/7. They probably have an East Coast feed, and they have a dude running it from the West Coast, because I check after events. They continue to tweet 2, 3, 4 a.m., which indicates that means they're tweeting from the West Coast as well. They must have some couple people working the social media, because they tweet nonstop. And I do think that it's just more. They just want to give the content from the marks to the ones that are just casual fans.
I get it, but come on, man. Like, you don't set matches up and don't build conflicts through Twitter. Build conflicts through television. You have so much crap on TV.
Yeah.
You could build a conflict between these three guys, and all three of these guys can cut a promo. All three of them can.
Yeah.
Show me it in the ring. Don't show me it on the internet. I don't need to see it on the internet.
So now we get Daniel Bryan in the ring. He does the right thing.
So this is the end of the crap sandwich.
He fires Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, and then rightfully so, they get pissed and they beat down Daniel Bryan. But then Daniel Bryan emerges and he does what he does. He still got it. He still looks fluid in the ring. He was able to perform the first offensive moves that we've seen in almost 2.5 years. Yep. It was great to see.
Awesome.
We all popped. And then we were kind of surprised, me and Andrea, that he took the seriousness of the bumps that he took. I was like, can you, in your first return to action, not take bumps to the apron on your head?
Dude, he was supposed to be wrestling a safer style.
It
didn't look all that much safer, especially when he was running from end to end and he was doing those flying kicks and he would basically land on his back of his shoulders and his head. And I'm like, what are you doing? This is not safer. You're going to get hurt in your not even in a match.
So it'll be interesting to see what kind of style he comes back with, what the first match is. I think you're going to speculate in the news and notes section, but it's going to be fun to see. It brought back life to see somebody returning with the caliber of a Daniel Bryan. I mean, literally, it's like a Hulk Hogan returning. All the superstars tweeted. Everybody in the back was excited. Even Triple H said something. It's basically, when you see Daniel Bryan and the reaction he gets, wrestlers spend 20 years trying to get that over. Yep. He's over. He's got it. He's now, and remember, if you want to know, he's only 36. He could have a good 6-year run if he's safe.
Yep.
And that's what you got to be. Just be safe. You know what? Just go in there, tell good stories. Sometimes you got to transition to be the performer. You don't have to be Daniel Bryan, all-world wrestler. You don't have to be AJ Styles. If you got a head injury, just be safe. Try to get year-to-year, performance by performance. If you're going to go out there and be reckless, it could be a 5-match or less run.
So did it scare you? Like half the
I'm scared watching him, but when you
seen a haluva kick, you've seen the power bomb into the ring apron. Again, him going side to side doing his like jumping kicks, and he would just land on his head. I was nervous the entire time.
Yeah,
I was
listen,
like, oh my God.
We're all happy, but remember, when you have a history of concussions, then you do get a chance of
careful.
Yeah, there's an increased chance that most likely what's going to happen is he's going to have some move take place and he's going to get another one. That's what's going to end it. He's not going to walk away just, okay, free and clear like a Shawn Michaels. I don't think he's going to be removed from his wrestling career with a match. I think it'll be an injury.
Yeah, they'll take it away.
They'll take it away at some point. You hope you get a year out of it. Maybe one more WrestleMania moment and the next retirement will be just fine. It'll be a little bit better for him.
Yeah, it's one of those things when you have a concussion or you've sustained a concussion, you're more susceptible all the time. So
I think he's more likely to be like Corey Graves than Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. All right, what's the verdict?
It was tough. I felt like the middle of SmackDown was nowhere near anything Raw, but when you got a returning superstar, you get to see him in action. I voted SmackDown because I was excited. It was once it was announced, I haven't felt like, okay, I got to be in front of the television. I cleared the schedule. I made sure 8 o'clock I was in front of SmackDown. I felt like overall the show was better because you got the best superstar, the most over superstar on the show. And I felt like just by that alone, when Daniel Bryan returns, you can't give it to the other show.
Then we will agree to disagree because I agree with you that SmackDown was carried heavily by Daniel Bryan and his 2 segments that he had. But overall, Raw was a much more enjoyable show, a much more fast-paced show.
Yep.
So we'll go half and half, and Raw leads 18-12.
You got it. Have me the news and notes. What's going on this week? News of an injury?
News of an injury. So as we build to WrestleMania, there was a house show that took place in, I believe, New York this past weekend. And
it's the first I'm hearing of this.
AJ Styles appears to have injured his ankle or his leg. If you noticed, when the whole Nakamura match was going on, AJ should have jumped up and got involved right away. He was much slower. He started taking his stuff up. They basically wrote it off as him being a smart champion. No, he's dealing with a leg injury. So he said it's not going to affect WrestleMania. He said he will wrestle with one leg if he had to. So he will be at WrestleMania, and he will be taking on Nakamura. But he is dealing with a leg injury that is legit.
But yeah, I did read now in checking when I saw your news and notes that it's not that serious. I think he's going to be able to be okay at WrestleMania. But I'll ask you this, if it is the day of WrestleMania and there's an issue, do you just fast forward it and do Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura?
No.
You don't do that?
No, because I think what's going to happen, this is what you touched on earlier, I think at WrestleMania, what you're going to probably get now is you're going to get Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon versus Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens. So you'll have a tag team match. And I think that's what you're going to end up getting. So a huge change coming to WrestleMania. Seeing how everything we're talking about is building towards WrestleMania or has to do with WrestleMania, seeing how we're in WrestleMania season. After a lot of backlash and the candy sponsor Snickers got involved, WWE has renamed the WrestleMania, the Fabulous Moolah Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania to the Women's Battle Royal. And again, this is based upon Moolah being a dirtbag and pimping girls out. that she trained or taking their money back in the day. So if you need to do some research, you need to do some history, go on Wikipedia. You can find a bunch of stuff, or you just type it into Google. Fabulous Moolah was a piece of work. And by a piece of work, I mean she was garbage. And she did wrong by a lot of her girls. She would sit there, she'd pimp them out to creepy wrestling promoters. Her and her husband would end up raping other girls that she was training. She would sit there and take up to 30 to 40% of their money when she would book them for shows as her booking fee. So she's basically taking a large chunk of your cash. So she was a dirtbag. And on top of that, she kept everybody underneath her. So if there was a talent that was better than her, she would not allow them to surpass her. She was involved in the very first ever screw job. Montreal screw job was not the first one WWE ever did. It was for a woman's title, and Fabulous Moolah was involved in it. She was the Shawn Michaels in that match. So she was a piece of trash. So they renamed it, but mostly because Snickers got involved. So whatever Stephanie McMahon says is wrong.
Just further evidence of the power of the fans and social media. Once it was announced,
you sound like Stephanie McMahon now. No, it's because Snickers got involved, dude. Yeah. It's all money. It's all money and sponsorships. Yeah. Come on, you're not naive. You're smart. I see all the degrees in your office. Yeah. You're a smart man. You know the deal.
Any other news and notes?
That's all I got.
Great wrestling podcast. I'm getting excited for WrestleMania. The interesting part is I think I'm at 50% interest in terms of the card. It's good. Over a 5-hour card, there'll be times where I can passively watch, and there'll be times I'll be definitely invested. Interesting, we got to watch what's going on with AJ Styles. I'm surprised he hasn't been injured more because of that style, and that's what I'm always worried about whenever Monday, Tuesday hits. I'm always like, man, did AJ Styles get hurt because of that style? Dude's a worker, and when
he's at every show, he's the anti-Brock Lesnar. No, he is the anti-Brock Lesnar. He will show up. He will do a job for you. Yeah. He'll give you the best match of your career.
Yeah, and I think it's easy too. You can just build it up next week. Nakamura does the move, and he's out. Maybe then the next week is a contract signing. You just in terms of the build up, you just have Nakamura get over physically, and then you just do a contract signing and then a stare down. That's all you need. Everybody just wants to see the match. The build up is there.
Yep.
You just add as much as you can to it.
You don't need much. AJ Styles to wrestle.
You just need his body. Exactly. You just need his body. Just get his body there. The build up is fine. You already know what it is. Vignettes, you can be creative about it. Contract signings, however you want to do it. But it's time for Nakamura to get over on AJ Styles.
Yep.
And now the big thing people are saying is, would you be okay in that match, Styles Nakamura, if AJ Styles is the de facto heel? To play that role just in that match, because it's kind of tough to see. People kind of want Nakamura to be over, and you got two over guys. So in that match, I think there's a strong chance Styles plays the heel in the match.
I think that's a great question, and I think we table this for next week.
We will talk about it, the value of what to do in that match and how to play it off. Very good stuff, sir. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. This has been the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Anytime there's breaking news in wrestling, follow at Detroit Podcast. Definitely check out the Breaking Down the Ring podcast. They air live every Wednesday on the Podcast Detroit Network. Check out BDRcast on Twitter. And hey, if there's something going on in wrestling, a show, anything you want to talk about, we'll talk about it with you. Follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. You can follow Adam at Adam RSTROZ. Cuz, let's get out of here.